Welcome to hell. This is the worst decision I ever had. Um, Five people decided that they were guilty and knew exactly what to do, and then one person thought, I'm just going to pick a movie that I actually enjoy and think it's good. We'll get to there. Mark, me and Scott were talking before you arrived. This is just kind of what you bring to the show, anyways. Like, there's no real, like, most of your stuff is guilty. We've had Spring, we've had Power Rangers, we have Varsity Blues.
Varsity Blues.
What did you bring today, and how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I don't know. I would maybe only consider one of those like a truly guilty movie. Like couple like at least the football one. I would say just a classic.
No, Varsity Blues is magical. I agree with you.
Out of here and there. In saying that, I think I brought an interesting sports film of Never Back Down.
Ooh, that soundtrack. We'll talk about it. Next up, my other host, Scott Harvey, returning. What's your guilt? What is your what? We were asking about this, but when we said you were going to do the show, like, what is a Scott guilty pleasure? Like a French, like a French film from the earlys, or like this nice 2010s that no one saw. What'd you pick, and how are you?
Well, I'm good. I'm happy to be back. Well, I was happy to be back until this all happened. But my definition of a guilty pleasure is the movie that I picked, which is the 2018 comedy Never Going Back. And the reason I picked it kind of is because it is number one, it's a stoner comedy, and number two, it has a lot of humor that would be described as gross out or scatological, perhaps. And I find those types of comedies to be sort of the lowest of the low. And yet I do enjoy this movie. I do think it's funny. We're going to get into it, but that is why I consider this movie a guilty pleasure, even though it isn't like terribly reviewed or anything like that. Like, it's just kind of a mediocrely received movie.
Back on the show, Zach Ford. How are you, and what'd you bring?
I'm doing okay. I do regret all choices to be on this. My FOMO to say no to you really hurt me on this one.
You can tell me no.
I can't tell no to anybody. I was happy to be invited. I got to take advantage of my opportunities. When asked, I picked Pan, which I don't even view as a guilty pleasure because it's a good ass movie and everybody else is wrong. This is just like the movie where no one gets it and you're all wrong and I'm right. Because I don't really view things like, I don't know what a guilty pleasure for me would be because I either enjoy it or I don't, and I don't feel bad about it. And it's really between this or Woman in the Windows. I couldn't get past Joe Wright movies, so this is one you got.
Thank you, God, for not.
I don't know the exact quote, but like, we've done this many roundtables and we've had two Peter Pans. It's crazy that it's happened twice. Like, I don't know how this is possible, but we've gotten two of the lesser versions of Peter Pan. But we'll talk about that. First time on the show, Robert Kastner. I wanted to get him on for a while. Guilty pleasures. I don't know why I picked you for guilty pleasures, but I'm glad that you agreed to be for your first time watch to be here. How are you doing, and what did you bring us?
I'm good. First time participant, first time watcher. I have no concept of this whatsoever. No, I'm just kidding. A little bit. I'm good. What I consider guilty pleasure is something that I would have watched probably around my boarding school college days, that when I look back on it, I'm like, why did I like that so much? And then it keeps coming around on TV, like the movie I picked, which was School for Scoundrels. And I'm like, you know what? It's got problems. I can't deny that. But gosh darn it if I just don't like seeing a lot of people who I like in a movie hanging out and doing stuff. And that's what they do in this movie. Best definition of it I can make.
That's fair. And the person that likes to rig the system in every which way, and also has created my favorite Letterboxd review to date is from Scott Harvey. Like, I've had to watch this roundtable. I will answer no more questions or no further questions. Koho, how are you? What'd you bring?
I'm doing good. I like being on. When you're like, hey, guilty pleasures, I was like, great. This is an episode that is like tailor-made for me to come on and bring a movie, and people will be like, "Koho's an idiot." But I'm like Zach. I don't really have guilty pleasures. I like what I like, and I think it's good when I like it. So this is I guess I'd say a formative movie for me. Michael Jackson's "This Is It," which I think is universally panned, and I think is actually quite good. So
Payson Johnson is on record that says Koho just doesn't understand what a guilty pleasure is when you pick "This Is It." Or Michael Jackson complains about things on stage. But we'll get there in a little bit. Mine is The Internship. I wrote The Internship, Vince Vaughn, Owen Wilson going to Google. Again, as everybody else, I'm not exactly what I think. I know this movie is rough, but I like it. And I don't know why, but I do. Isn't that ironic? Okay. So we're going to start with Scott's Never Going Back, right?
That's mine. Yes.
They're so close. Never back down. Never
really
going back. It doesn't really matter.
They're so similar,
Yeah.
man.
So I hated this movie. I'll just get out of the way. I hated this movie. These two girls had to be the most annoying girls to ever be put on film for me. And that was the point. I know that was the point. But man, and there are some scenes in this movie that I just wish I just never saw. Like that, the last sequence of this film, basically, when everything goes wrong. It takes such a drastic turn at that end that you just didn't see it like coming at all. Like this old man, we'll get there in a little bit. Everybody else, did anybody see this movie prior to this?
It was on my radar, but I never quite clicked on it, and so I'm happy Scott made me do it.
Okay, so Zach, you were on the positive side of this movie.
I'm in the positive. I'm going to be very honest. As soon as everyone started sending their movies, I was like, oh, I got enough edibles in the bathroom cabinet to survive this, and so I definitely did watch this movie high. It was probably the right state of mind to do it because
that would probably help.
I was vibing with the crew going on. I don't think all of it works, but I just kind of liked being around the characters enough. And I'm, a huge fan of plotless movies, as some of the people on this are. But for some reason, the plotlessness of this one hurt it, I think, more than it normally would. Otherwise, I think because either the world's not interesting enough, or like on a moment-to-moment basis, there's not something interesting enough on each individual casting. It's kind of just like them going to work, but they're still charming. I love Camilla Morone. She's great in Daisy Jones in The Six, and I find her very charming. In nice words, I say she's very important. And I do get why Scott picked this as a guilty pleasure, because my thing was like, why is this a guilty pleasure? Like, this is a well-reviewed movie. And it's because Scott hates puke and he hates poop, and this movie goes full in the climactic scene on puke and poop.
Double whammy.
Yeah, double whammy.
I don't think
that fully worked as well, because it didn't vibe with the rest of the movie. But I will say I think Scott rewatched this because I told him that there's a 1 second moment that to me was like the funniest thing that I've seen in months that I watched 7 times, which is in the store when the old man is like yelling at her about being a whore. He like waves his arm through the whole store, and it just like gets white in the wife's face, and her reaction is just like the purest physical comedy. It's so funny. I like freezed on her face and had a nice high laugh to it.
So the thing is, like, this movie also, it's like one of my favorite cop episodes of all time. Like when or a scene when like they call the cops because somebody broke, but they're also breaking the law and they get in trouble for it. Like, they stole this TV great. That weighs 1,000 pounds out of my room. You need to get them. Wait, you're doing cocaine in here?
I mean, best line arguably when they're wheeling the TV out and the two guys just like look at the VHS tape and are like, beaches.
So Koho, Robert, and Mark, what were your impressions of this movie? I'm very curious. Were you guys a fan?
So to be clear, I watched this. Sometimes my feelings about movies are sort of colored by what I'm doing at the time. And I was watching this today in between watching football. So I wasn't giving it necessarily all the attention it deserved, probably. Or maybe I did. The good thing I'll say
That's
about
probably
it
a good
is
thing. Probably a
yeah.
good idea.
I did enjoy the fact that it was short, so that was cool. 85 minutes, in and out. Let's go. Zach brought up a lot of good points. I don't find anything in the world interesting. The only thing I find what gave me remote joy was Kyle Mooney showing up. I was like, hey, it's Kyle Mooney. I know a person, and he's doing his Kyle Mooney thing, like when he does vignettes on SNL. That's cool. It made me look at like I never want to go to sub shops ever again.
Yeah.
So that's fun. No, I mean it was fine. It had like plot points that it didn't have plot points. That was kind of the main problem. But it meandered and it was cute in points, but it just sort of went back and forth and didn't really go anywhere. So 85 minutes though, you can't beat that.
Oh yeah, they didn't learn anything. They didn't learn anything from this movie. Like the whole thing is, they took the rent money to go through, and then they robbed the old man at the end just to go on the trip and still blow all the money.
They're trying to get they're living in Galveston now.
They're trying to get to the beach, and at the end of the movie, they get to the beach. That's called an arc right there, people.
Yeah, but right in between that, the old man sticks his wiener in between a bun and squirts mustard on it. It's in the picture. I was mortified.
Do not fetish shame.
I was mortified how fast that happened. That man wasted no time to go to that grill, and I was like, "What is happening?" And then why the girl is just shitting in the.
How did you not hear? How did they not hear that? How did you not hear the massive shitting that's going on 10 feet away?
Oh, you seem like you're a big fan of this movie. Was I right?
Oh no. Oh no, I think this is an abomination and maybe one of the worst movies of 2018 I've ever watched. It's terrible. It felt like there was 80 minutes of pointless stuff happening. And then in the final 5 minutes, they actually kind of have an interesting idea of we are stealing from the old man and we're going to take the money and we're going to go to where we want to go. And it's like, there should be a whole more interesting crime movie that follows that endeavor. There's a lot more interesting stuff that should be happening after that final 5 minutes, where it's like, could someone chase them? What's the embezzlement like? I feel like there's a movie there that I would actually watch. But the first 80 minutes turns me so much off to these characters who I don't like, with comedy that I didn't find funny, that I did not give a shit by the last 5 minutes. So I was just like, it's just...
They don't know it's the old guy's business. They are going
I know. I'm saying, but at the end, they get the money and they leave. I'm saying once they take the money and leave,
it's like it comes full circle, like it is the guy. So that's why it's like interesting. Well, very cheap, like how it works out. It's like, oh, it happens to be the old guy and he's cheating on his wife. So here's our out right now.
Right.
Enjoy your wiener picture. Mark.
That was terrible.
How do you know he's not saying that to his wife?
That's the whole thing. She said that it wasn't your wife at the end.
Isn't that? No way.
You didn't pay attention to the movie. Thank you. I did.
No.
Mark.
Yeah.
You like this?
Yeah, I've been patiently waiting my turn. Yeah, this movie really, really sucks. I find it, I find it funny that the last movie that Scott brought on was Red Rocket. And that's right? It was Red Rocket.
Yeah. I didn't make it to the episode, but
yeah. I mean, this is kind of like just a worse version of that. Like in every way, I just like I mean, I can't think of like I mean, I don't mind movies that don't have a plot. Like, and one of my favorite movies is Everybody Wants Some. I love that movie. I as long as we have good character development, interesting people, interesting situations, I'm usually good. I don't give a shit about any of these fucking characters. They all suck. They're all terrible. And I mean, I guess if you're thinking, oh man, the two girls are kind of interesting, where one of them's just a piece of shit. And the other one is also a piece of shit, but they just need somebody to kind of co-sign their piece of shit-itery, to just be a piece of shit,
We hit our quota for piece of shit.
I will say it's a piece of shit that I think made sense. I could see this in teenagers of where they're bad influences on each other. They just went let
true.
each other
Absolutely.
There's no
young enough that they're
parent
paying rent and stuff, which is right. They're 17.
They're 16. This is my biggest issue with the movie.
Oh yeah,
there's no reason they're going to be 16. They should be 20,
That-
and it would make sense and not have it so many questions. I just want to be like, where's their parents? What's their bad relationship?
Yeah.
and their
too
place
many things.
and their place that they're staying at would not let them go without being 18 to like. I know it's a loop. Well, the movie doesn't
the
make any
brother
fucking sense.
is
I'm not
like
trying.
presumably,
Yeah.
he's older. So
I guess that's true.
But they could be 20 and it not change the movie at all, and just give
Well,
me those questions.
anyway,
if
these are
they're
semantics.
if they're of
If I
age, we
can
don't get the
defend
line
myself-
about how they're
Sure,
waking
sure.
up.
You can definitely defend yourself, Scott. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, I understand that some of the humor in this movie is the lowest common denominator. I at least like that there is some wit in the way that these things are set up, right? Like the fact that you have this sort of ticking clock element to the fact she has to go to the bathroom the whole movie, and so it's a little bit funnier because of the situation in which it finally happens. And then as well as the old man, again, there is some wit in the way that that's set up earlier, with him in the supermarket, and then the fact that he comes back around and he happens to be the owner of the sandwich shop is kind of a funny twist. I just like the little random vignettes in the movie. I think the scene where they show up to the restaurant high is one of the funniest scenes of people being high in a movie, especially when they go to the back and they have the whole conversation about the screensaver on the computer, and then they like pan out and their boss has been sitting there the entire time. I just think that's hysterical. I love the random guy being like, "Hey, they teach you guys about the oceans in school?" No. Well, they're going away. Oh, that's crazy, man. They just have random conversation. It's just like the little moments like that. I don't think it's like, some masterpiece of cinema, but at 85 minutes, I enjoy my time with the main characters. I think they have fun chemistry together. I think the brother and everything that he gets up to, I think those idiots, like the supporting characters, are really funny there. Just the hijinks that they get up to, and it's a fun time. I understand like the Red Rocket, like it's set in that same sort of like part of Texas. It just coasts on vibes. Like it's fun for me. I find it fun. And also another joke I love is when they're flashing back to their past ways that they got out of work, and they do the thing about how they chug the milk and then they throw up the milk in front of their boss, and just the visual gag of that is pretty hilarious, of him just looking down at like just what they have spewed out. And it's anyway, really funny.
I think the thing that helps me with this movie is like I put into the mind of like dumb teenagers.
Yeah.
This is exactly in the line of what they would do. Like, oh, we're working 10 shifts in the next few days. We'll make all of our rent money back in that time frame. The hell you are, because like the very first scene, they're like, we need to give the hostess or whatever, a chance. That's the dumb thing. And I think we'll get into the common theme of tonight. There's one person on this panel. Each movie will probably enjoy some aspects of it, but the majority of us should hate these movies because that's what a guilty pleasure is. We have to admit that some things are bad. So, but overall, like I didn't like there. It was shock value a little bit. I did giggle a couple times. Like I'm not gonna, but again, at 85 minutes, I'm not in this like hellhole that I was like, eh. I mean, I've seen worse movies on this show that stretch way longer. So I was like,
Forrest Gump,
nothing. Shut up.
Don't even
disrespectful.
fucking start. Don't even.
This film couldn't even tie Forrest's shoes.
You lost your right on that today. For this show, it's out. Any other show, you can't. Not today.
Do we want to get into the details of like, do we believe the old man was not in a healthy marriage? Was it his fault, or was it his wife's fault that the marriage was falling apart? Or do we just want to give out scores for this movie? Either way is fine with me.
I mean, I think it's his fault. Like the wife clearly just was kind of the silent spouse who just stood there and didn't really, ever say anything about her husband's, frankly, irredeemable behavior. I mean,
acted in anything else? Because I guarantee not. They just pulled him from like a suburban neighborhood.
I mean, doesn't he look like the type of guy who would do that? Let's be honest.
Yeah. He's the guy that comes into my store and asks me to erase his phone. It's like he comes into the store I need help erasing my phone. Oh, why, buddy?
I have a question though. Do you think he bought the sub shop purely because he knew what his fetish was? He's like, I need to have a sub shop so I can penis dog anytime I want. Like, which one came first? Chicken or the egg?
The eternal question.
Like, again, I knew she had to go to the bathroom, and we didn't know about the old man, but that sequence happens in 15 seconds. Like, he has got it in the bun, and she is shitting at the exact same time, and I'm just like,
Sensory overload.
what are we doing here? Scott, what is your star rating on this movie? We do letterbox rating, so like 1 or half stars if you don't. But Scott, what's yours?
Listen, I've rewatched this movie a lot of times. I think it's super fun, funny. I give it 4.5 stars. I have a great time with it.
I'm at 2 stars.
All right.
Yeah, again, there are way worse movies I've seen, especially this year or in past years. So, like, there is humor in this. I just don't like the character, so the rewatchability is way down. But I can't say, like, I was like, didn't get to the 30-minute I need to turn this off thing. I'm just like, what is going on? Koho.
Half star. Constitutes as torture under maritime law.
See, I used to be like that. I gave it a half stars too easy, and I had to backtrack it. I'm not that critical. Zach.
I feel like I came off more negative than I am because I did really love the characters and enjoyed my time. So 3.5 stars.
Okay. Mark.
I gotta tell you, I hear Scott's rating. It makes me feel like I don't know you at all. Like, this just blows my mind. I mean,
Guilty pleasure.
Listen, these characters' idea of a good trip is taking a beach trip up to Galveston. There's nothing about them that is good at all. Like, even their dreams suck. I mean, it's a 1 star. Like, it's terrible.
Yeah, still half star better than Saw 2. Kastner.
I found it weird that they didn't address the hypocrisy that he was taking food and not paying for it when he gave a bunch of crap for that. I know it was the shock value of the penis and the bun.
He wasn't eating it. He could have put it back.
Well, it's true. Yeah, we didn't get the full thing. You know, could put it back.
Scrape off the mustard in the bottle. What the talking about?
I meant the subs he made beforehand, before he stuck his penis in bun. I don't know. I'd give this like 2.5. I guess. It's fine. It's in the middle. It doesn't offend me as much, but it's not great.
All right. So the next movie, probably the thing that's more egregious than this movie, I just have to get off, is the soundtrack. I've never hated a movie's soundtrack as much as I hate the soundtrack in this movie.
Except TV on the radio is in there for some reason.
Yeah, I had a message, Scott. It offended me to put like one of my favorite songs with like me in the middle of the worst bullshit of the 2000s music.
Yeah.
I can't say that I am like, I know how sound balancing and sound mixing in a movie goes, but how these songs had to be 3 to 4 times louder than the dialogue in every scene that they're in. I almost just muted the movie and said I will just watch this as a silent film because I'm so mad. I'm finding a trend in these movies. If you have a bad like score sounder, I'm getting more and more mad. And then you just atop this of just the broiest bros just fighting it out in this, like, these people happen to just outbro like Tom Hardy and like in Warrior. Like, I'm sitting here like, these guys are so tough. Like, and they want you to know how tough they are. Like, they flex just like opening car doors and like doing that normal thing. I've always, I don't know, because believe me, this is not something I'm going to travel down, but I typed in Never Back Down, and there seems to be either a lot of spinoffs or sequels to this
A lot of sequels.
that I am terrified, and I am not going down. I'm never going back. Never.
What if we all picked a Never Back Down sequel? As our guilty pleasure?
So, had anybody seen this movie prior?
No, I avoided
seen
it.
pieces of it.
Plague.
No.
Okay. Oh, Scott, it seems like right up your alley.
Holy shit!
Did
Sorry,
anybody,
Michael Jai
like,
White directed both sequels, guys.
Yeah, he did.
Oh,
That checks
Wow.
out.
Maybe
How much
the
Black
action
Dynamite
might
Oh,
have been those,
what were
but
your
it was
thoughts
the list.
on this movie?
It was like watching Fight Club without a hint of irony. I think my entire thoughts on this movie can be summed up in the third act. They chose as a soundtrack cue the Slam by Toby Mac to soundtrack a third act climactic fight scene, which that song is about pacifism and Jesus Christ, and it's going to soundtrack them beating the shit out of each other in a ring. That came on, and I had to pause the movie to make sure that was the song I was hearing right now. So this is fucking bananas, Mark. Bananas.
Anybody else find enjoyment in this? I don't want to downplay it. If you guys enjoy it, like, just let me know. I'm just curious.
This movie would have beaten me up and called me a lot of slurs in high school, probably. Like that is the energy that this movie exudes. The two moments that I do want to say were just crazy to me. First, the road rage scene where he just starts a road rage fight just for no reason whatsoever, just to like take out his aggression and prove that he can fight or whatever. He
And
just
it's
like
a scene that's
creates
supposed
a
to
road
glorify
rage.
him.
Yeah, just awful. And then the fact that the whole thing is building towards this tournament, right? Like, of course, it's a classic sports movie trope, like especially a fighting movie, a boxing movie, whatever. We have the big tournament at the end, and of course, as we all know, the hero and the villain are going to face off in the finals of the tournament. Well, no, that's not what happens. In fact, they're just going home and they run into each other in the parking lot, and they're like, "Well, we can have the fight now." What was the point of setting up this entire climactic showdown between them if they could have done that at any time? They could have bumped into each other in the parking lot at any point in the movie.
It makes sense for its idea of how people work. This is a movie for shitty people about shitty people made by shitty people. And what's the shittiest way to like end a fight is like, let's just fucking fight in a parking lot and everyone still loves us and cheers us on like it's anything. It's the shittiest way to have the climax.
What is the takeaway supposed to be? Because he fights to like so he can stop fighting, right? Like that's what they keep saying is like, I have to fight so that I don't have to fight anymore.
To be the alpha.
But then at the end of the movie, it's like, oh, he's the hero. We love him because he fought and he won, right? Like, I don't understand what the message is.
This school is so funny because everyone in this school just cares about who can beat one's ass the best.
Yeah.
And in 2009, when I feel like that attitude was changing, I mean, you had the 21
Evan Peters
version of high school a couple years later, where everyone was like woke. Is like complete opposite. It was like a response to this, where everyone's just like, that just watch this kid beat his ass and we love it.
Super exemplified by when they go to the party and he shows them around. He's like, it's like a drug and sex party. All over. He's like, this is where the real party is. And there's just a bunch of people beating the shit out of each other on the beach. Nobody, like, why are there 2,000 people down there on the beach? How are there this many people in the school or the community? I don't understand. It's weird. I think the whole idea of the end is like a subversion, but I guess it's not smart enough to do that. Not a good one. But I guess that's the idea. I thought it was funny at the end when like the next day they're at the rafting place. I don't even understand how that place works. And they're like, they see each other across the parking lot. They give each other an acknowledged hey. And that's sort
of good now.
That's where everything's good now. Because you almost killed me in the parking lot by cutting off my airway. I don't even know if that dude has any brain function anymore. He was pretty much close to death. It was very strange.
The problem with the movie in general is it's just the people that are fighting, you want to both get brutally knocked out. Like,
yes,
like there's no one you're rooting for. Like, there's normally one person in the fight you're like, I hope that guy whoops his ass. Nope. Like, they could both be just double tapped out and I would be fine with this movie. It's just like, I don't.
Baby fat Evan Peters? Is that who you're supposed to feel for?
Yeah.
I do feel bad for Evan Peters as an actor, him being in this movie.
Yeah.
And his hair is just hideous.
Like, Fight Club always got the reputation of, like, the bro movie. Like, this is just the bro movie. And watching that, we're just too hard on Fight Club. Like, and because there's another movie that exists, everybody. And if it was a true bro movie, Fight Club would kind of, like, fully lean into what this movie really does. Like, I'm not defending Fight Club of being, it's a bro's favorite movie, but This movie is just like none of the enjoyable elements of Fight Club is in this. Mark, is it the soundtrack? Is it the fighting that just like? By the way, I think it's hard in Hollywood to make a punch sound. Every punch in this movie sucks. Like it sounds like it's the straight like over like I don't know. Just like Scott, show me your love for never back down. They should have backed down. I'll be honest with you.
Somebody.
First of all, I gotta tell you, I already love I brought this movie because everybody was ready. They were ready to pounce on this thing. They're like, I gotta throw in my 2 cents about this stupid goddamn movie. So, first of all, I'm at least proud of that.
That is a success. That is a success.
Yeah.
Like, I will say, like, I can understand at least part of the movies I brought. Like, oh man, I don't like, you know, they're kind of silly, at least up to this point. I would say at least the difference here is with Never Back Down. I did not expect any of you to like it. I was pretty certain everybody was probably either not going to like it, hate it on some level, because there's nothing about this movie that makes sense. But on some end, I find it incredibly fascinating for this one reason. It's like if you gave an alien species like just a bunch of random sports movies, and then you told that alien species, "Hey, make a sports movie," and you get Never Back Down. You get a movie that makes absolutely no sense, but it carries every single sports trope known to
This
man.
movie
Like
was
every
made
single one.
LGBT. Just like
Like it's all there. Like, oh, we got a character with a tragic past. How does he deal with it? Sports. Like, and you know what? All of his problems get magically fixed with sports trauma. Sports fixes it. Parents issues. Sports fixes it. Like everything is fixed with sports for some stupid reason. And I mean, like you guys are complaining about the soundtrack. Listen, we have to know when a montage is happening. How else would you know a montage is coming up if like the soundtrack isn't just pumped to 11? Like you would never know. Like, oh shit, montage. I better keep.
There's so many montages.
I really thought
He's
like we were gonna bust
3 or
into
4.
another montage when he was on the bus and we hear the Kanye song come up. Is he about to like do some pull-ups like on this bus, like just to get jacked for like this fighting tournament? Like what's happening? Like it just
Oh god.
listen.
Everything in this movie flexes. Everything.
Listen, I completely understand all the criticism. But I do find this movie enjoyable. I wouldn't have brought it if I didn't find it at least enjoyable. The main villain kid, I like it. It was a Cam Gigandet. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how to say
Something
it
like
either.
that.
Not a fucking clue.
I feel like I really like his performance on some end, just because I feel like he knows what movie he's in. He's just amping this thing up to 11. I mean, especially like when we get, because I think I told Cody about this scene before. Whenever like we see like this YouTube clip of like him winning like the previous tournament, and he's just like beating the shit out of some guy, and then they're like trying to pull him off, and he's like, ah, and then he just goes back to beating. Like it's just, why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense.
I thought he was gonna Miles Garrett that guy at one point.
Yeah.
He takes off that
No,
helmet. He's
the
like,
helmet that's coming down. I'm scared.
he's trying to kill that dude. He's like, your mom, dad, or something. He's like, you.
There's at least 4 instances of attempted murder. At least 4, if not more.
At least 4.
Yeah. Did we cut you off, Mark? I don't want to take away your gems of this movie.
I mean, not really. I think the only thing I probably got left to say about it is like, I will say, like, I kind of do like at the end how it does end with them fighting in the parking lot. It's a weird element that I think that does kind of fit the movie in a sense, because the tournament like really doesn't matter. They're just kind of out there to fight for their differences. Although I didn't expect, after they fought, they're just all of a sudden cool with each other. Like they just see each other in the parking lot. What's up, bro? I guess we're all right. It's like we're gonna have like some Goku Vegeta arc, like in the sequels, how like they're now best buds, and like he put your best friend in the goddamn hospital. Like he almost murdered him. Like I don't know how we're okay. He should be in jail.
No, that's the alien side of making the sports movie, because when two dudes fight, the next day they show up and just shake hands because they went through something together that no other person has experienced together. You know, we were near death, but we fought, and that made us to get friendship. Like, yeah, like,
Trauma bonded.
yeah, these guys are the people that shove people in the lockers at school. Yeah, and said a bunch of like, and then you show up to a bar like 10 years later in that same town, like, oh God, I'm glad I got out of here, and be like, man, remember that fight we had? They're talking about it for like the 7th time in the same year. Yeah, it's just like, Todd and Beck, get over it. Like, it was 10 years. That fight was epic. Don't you remember? Like, yeah, it's that kind of movie. I just was like, I watched. Funny, I watched Scott and your movie back to back, and I did it in the wrong order. I wish I would have watched your March first and then Scott's, and I probably would have enjoyed Scott's more, because I was just like, this movie just made me down. Like, and again, I was out at the beginning instantly. That soundtrack kicked in. I was like, this person does not know how to make this. Is so loud. Like, and then I turned it down because it was too loud on my TV. I was like, I'm going to wake the whole house up. And then the mother, you got to turn it back up, and then another montage of hitting the speakers. I just could never get the same audio right because it was all over the place. So thanks for that, Mark. Do anybody else want to talk about some genius scenes that we're missing? I don't want to take away anybody's bright spots on these.
I love the very specific reason that they had to move to Orlando, because the brother's like a tennis star and had to go to a tennis school.
Yeah.
The most athletic
Which is
kid
very
you've
Florida.
ever seen in your life.
Bring back some memories for you, Zach.
Yeah, I'm very jealous I never got to go to one of these Florida schools.
Tennis academies. Yeah.
These tennis academies, yeah. If only I had an aggressive fighter brother to inspire me.
Again, they
That
had to
mom
move.
hated her kid as much as I've ever seen.
Oh my
anybody
God, I
hate
know.
any child in the history. Like, you might as well have just kicked him out and let him stay in Iowa. Why even bring him to Orlando? Just let him stay there and kind of hash things out.
I am going to imagine that every time Mark watches this movie, like once a week, he just immediately like shotguns a 40, then goes out the street and like punches a 12-year-old off a skateboard, because that seems like the right way to enjoy this movie.
It's like the
I mean,
Family
I'm
Guy
really
thing where it's
surprised-
like you go and you're like, do you want? This makes you want to fight that guy next to it. Or, no, he's too big. Maybe does it make you want to fight his kid? Yeah. If screw you, Macho Man Randy Savage. That's what this movie is.
I'm just surprised that his dad didn't die by crashing into sports. I would have thought, that's
sure?
how
He
he would have died in his accident. He
Yeah,
crashed
he
into
could have died
sports, not a
in sports,
tree.
for sure.
Yeah, I'm not
Well,
sure.
no, that would have fixed everything, though. He wouldn't have had trauma then. Because then he would have joined like the drama club and did musicals or something.
It's
Also,
real
get the
world
fuck over it. Dads die.
The snake eats your own tail. Where does it end? Where does it begin? I don't know.
Mark, what's your score on this?
Listen, I don't know what to tell you. I've seen this movie a lot. I really enjoy it. I know it's a steaming pile of garbage, but you know what? Just every now and
It's
then
my
you
steaming pile of garbage.
you just like the smell. Every now and again, you just love the smell of garbage. Also, I hope Diamond Hansu was able to buy a huge house because of this
John
movie. Like,
Roca? You mean we didn't even talk about the fact that the dude's name was basically John Roca?
That's true.
anyway,
No,
4 stars.
he didn't, because he
4
never makes any money off anything. We learned.
To quote one of the best Christmas movies ever, one man's trash is another man's potpourri. I am giving this 1.5 stars. And I don't know why. Just because I don't believe I can go any lower, just because I've seen worse. But I don't remember when. Koho.
There's genuinely nothing good to say about this movie. However, it is not torture under maritime law. I could watch this movie again and not hate my life. So I'm giving it 1 star.
So better than Scott's movie, though.
Oh no, 100% would rather watch Mark's
You're
movie than
wild.
Scott's movie.
Because this
I'll
one
take
had a Toby Max song. And he fucking...
Oh, yeah, so
the Tony Mac song, and it made me have to pause the movie. So yes, I'll take it.
Well, it's not the first time that a person has come on the show and gotten Scott movies and didn't enjoy the time. Zach,
quit the show.
I give her 1 star.
Okay, Robert.
I'm giving it 2.5 as well. I rate his and Scott's equally. I take different things out of each movie that gives me enjoyment, and other things that hit me in the solar plexus, like this would have, and I would have died because I don't have the kind of abs to sustain. So 2.5 as well.
All right, I'm going to open this to the panel. Do we want to talk about Michael Jackson first?
I gave it 1.5.
Oh, 1.5. Or Smells Like Teen Spirit. Which one do we want to talk about first?
Blitzkrieg Bob.
Talk about Smells Like Teen Spirit first.
Huh?
I'd rather talk about Smells Like Teen Spirit first.
We want to talk about Pan first?
Yeah.
I mean, it's about
Also,
time we
my
talk
review of
about
the
an
movie,
objectively good movie.
Okay.
I mean, either or. It doesn't
I just
matter.
have 2 things to open this. That scene is arguably one of the most confusing scenes I have ever seen in film history.
I don't get why.
I don't get it. Like, and there's nothing that makes you understand why they do it either. It's just literally Is there a moment that they develop?
There's an exposition where
It's
they
his
talk about
entrance
kids of
music.
all-
It's his
kids of all
hype music when he
eras,
comes in.
times. They
It's
say
just
that.
like I just hear hello. I was like, okay, this is the
Zach
moment.
loves Nirvana.
And then
Black
kid
dude loves
sings
Nirvana.
it.
The kids when they come
Nirvana
around,
hasn't
it's-
existed yet, so why are you thinking of fucking
No,
But
but-
listen, the kid is sitting there. The kid is sitting. One of my favorite parts is one you get to hear all these people that shouldn't be singing Nirvana sing, but then the one gullible man yells at the kid, "Go sing!" It's like I don't know the words. Like maybe he's new to this. I don't know. But then, in all his glory, Johnny Depp version of Hugh Jackman shows up on the screen and doesn't leave for the entire movie. He is doing the best Johnny Depp impression I have ever seen. Like, when he's like, and like walking to the stage and then leaves and sings the song. I replayed this scene 3 times before I moved on to the movie.
It's watchable.
Okay,
I couldn't get enough of this scene. It's one of the most confusing scenes I've ever seen.
Here's the thing about it that's crazy to me is that I thought I see this scene. I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of like a weird anachronistic thing that is going to be throughout the movie. There's going to be contemporary pop song. It's just this one scene. It never happens.
They did Blitzkrieg Bob.
You did 2 songs.
Like they
Yeah,
get
they
this.
did.
But two songs in like basically the same like stretches.
Because there's
of it,
only
like,
2 times
It's
where
done
he was
after half an hour.
entering
Like,
his
there's-
convention
Yeah.
area. It was his pump up music when he
Yeah,
comes
they
in.
waste
Joe
this
Wright-
moment 30 minutes into the film.
Joe Wright should have committed and made this a modern pop musical and just committed.
I mean,
No.
I'm saying
I probably would hate it then.
You probably would hate it.
Would
I
be
probably
here,
would like
though.
it more. I
like
would
it
like it
better.
more if it was the 20s version of Moulin Rouge. Like, it would have been better.
Like, so I'm on record. I don't think and this is where me and Zach are completely different, and I know that. But like, I have no interest in the lore of Pan. It doesn't entertain me, to say the least. I mean, and once you see one basic, you've seen them all. Like, kind of how it works for me. So this one didn't move the needle. Like, it was a different telling, obviously. But who's the kid who plays Peter?
What's his
Don't live in
face?
hell.
Levi Miller? Is
Doesn't
that-
matter. Doesn't matter. I don't like either one of them. I don't like Pan. I don't like Hugh. I don't like either. I don't like either one of those. And it falls into every time a Peter Pan shows up on screen. I don't like Peter Pan. I just don't like him. Like, it's not that he's a character. Either he's portrayed whiny or I don't care. The only one I've ever cared for is Robin Williams, because it's Robin Williams in tights basically doing this. Like, I don't, other than that.
It's because you're a grumpy old man that's
How
always
about
been
Allison
really
Williams?
comfortable in your skin as a grumpy old man, and unlike you have to be the ever child.
No, you sit
I never
there.
wanted
You
to grow
sit there
up.
and throw
You
that
always
shade
asked me
every
if
time
I
we're on a
wanted-
show together. Hold on. You sit there and throw that shade every time. It's grumpy old grudging Cody here talking shit on my movies again. We like a lot of the similar movies. You
know,
just
and
have
I-
this infant
no, I'm
side of
making a
you
point
that
that
doesn't grow up. You're
you
Peter
didn't-
Pan.
Yeah,
And
I'm
you're
saying the
Captain
point is
Hook.
I really didn't want to grow up, so it always resonated with me, and I feel like you were always just happy to be an adult.
I love being an adult. It's great.
And that's why you don't like the movie. I was just throwing a grumpy old man as a
No, that makes sense.
Cigarettes,
And that's why I don't
lottery
like it.
tickets.
I like that I can
Voting.
spend my money on what I want.
No, you asked me what I wanted to
I'm
be when I was
guessing-
7 years old. I said nothing. I'm a kid and I will be a kid forever. That's all that matters. And Theo's the same way.
So this movie definitely had more. I remember the trailer. It came out in the last 10 years. So this was probably seen by way more. I was interested when it came out, but I wasn't going to see it right away. And then I just heard bad things and just didn't go see it in theaters. Kind of glad I didn't. Did anybody see this prior to watching this today?
Yeah,
This week?
my wife and I went to the theater because we were interested based on the trailer, and
Okay.
and liked it, and still liked it. Nothing's
Nice.
changed.
Okay, so on rewatch, on even rewatches again, you enjoyed this version?
Yeah, there's some weird stuff. By the way, I learned just by random cast. Did you know the director of Promising Young Woman is in this movie?
Emotional.
Oh, no wonder I didn't like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think she's like the lady in the. I think she's the commanding lady who
God,
gets the
I hate
ships
that
to go after the pirate ship, or the airplanes to go after the pirate ship. I didn't know that. It was really
Well,
weird.
she's like one of the horrible nuns.
No, she's the commander. She's led of the military people. I didn't know that.
I need to bring that movie on here just to have Scott talk about it because I haven't heard his real thoughts on that movie.
But no,
because I wrote like a novel about it. But anyway, sorry, Robert.
I still liked it. I really like Garrett Hedlund as Hook. I think I know Koho's going to it. I like his interpretation of it. It's weird, but it's a weird movie, so I think it fits. And yeah, I mean, they do explain that it's supposed to, and you sort of are supposed to guess that when the ship goes through like the water and you see like these, it's like parallel dimensions. I never understood how that works necessarily, but everything's out of time and circumstance and space. And yes, they don't use it as they like to the fullest extent, but they do try to explain it. And I guess that's why they have like floating ship technology, which is also strange. But magic.
So they
and
explain in
technology.
this movie why they sing that song.
Not why they sing that song, just that it's not out of place that there would be something from a different era. We only saw the World War I, World War II England, but there's other people from other times and countries that are here.
Yeah, someone came there with their tape cassette deck.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a Peter Quill situation. They got like a tape got left somewhere. They're like, oh, let's play this.
Tape got left by Blackbeard, and he started
It, like,
listening to it and said, "Taught his
doesn't
people."
matter,
in."
Did TikTok make it there yet?
Let's relax.
Well, maybe. I don't know. Dragon Ball Z got there because the fairies. He shoots the fairies like fucking Kamehamehas, which is incredible. I forgot that happened. So when that happened, I was like, Jesus Christ, holy crap. Put that aside. No, I still mildly enjoy it. I don't think it's the best interpretation of Peter Pan, but it doesn't affect me. It doesn't like ruin everything for me.
Koho, what did you think? Because you had a visceral reaction when he brought up Hook. So
Well, first and foremost, Garrett Hedlund is from a town 2 hours north of me. So I've grown up with people who are like related to him. Like I've competed against Hedlunds in like high school stuff. So that's like in like theater around here. It's like Garrett Hedlund. And you're like that.
so you don't like this man?
No, I don't like Garrett Hedlund. I think he's bad as Hook. I think he's bad in pretty much everything he's in. I think he's a bad actor. And I think that my biggest thing is there's a whole ass Fantastic Four ending to the shit where they're like flying off on the ship and he's like, we're gonna be friends forever, aren't we? And he's like, of course, yeah. What could go wrong? We absolutely will be. And it's like, shut the fuck up. That's the most cop-out way of it. We're doing a Peter Pan origin story and Hook and Pan are gonna be on the same side. And by the end of this movie, they're still on the same side, and we don't ever find out why they're
They're
not friends.
saving it for Pan 2, but
Yeah,
you
Pan
fuckers didn't
2.
go see the damn movie.
Obviously.
It made
Well, maybe
128
they could
million.
put
Okay.
Pan 1 and then put that in Pan 1.
Yeah, it was
I just-
128
It wasn't
million.
because
They
of the
lost-
box office that it didn't
They
make
probably
another one.
lost. They probably lost 300 million on
I-
this thing. Like,
I really don't like the relationship between Pan and Hook. I think it's really like stupid. Like he's just bright-eyed. The whole child older person thing for me, where it's like they're trying to do like that. Like this is a bad example. It's just recent Joel and Ellie. Not at that at all, but it's that same dynamic of like older person, younger person that I'm like going to work with you. I hate how these two interact. I think they are so dumb. I think that my favorite part of the movie is maybe Rooney Mara, and she's so wasted in this movie. She should be in a better movie, and she should be making better movies than Pan. But like, it's rough. This whole movie.
Why is she playing Tiger Lily though?
That's a
Yeah,
great
that's a
question.
question.
Can I? So, this to me is a Doctor Strange Tilda Swinton issue, which is they have a reason I kind of understand what they're doing with it. They're like, we have to avoid this, Native American comparison somehow because we're going to get trashed. So their concept was like, this is Neverland. They're not Native Americans. They're Native Neverlandians. So that tribe is all races, all countries. It's its own thing. So she's still stuck. The problem is they're still stuck with our own
The
history with it and connections to it that we tie to it. So it was a lose-lose situation. They were doing their best to make it.
I will say Joe Wright is a good director who I like a lot of his stuff, and he's very good at making things that look good. And a lot of the aesthetics of this movie I don't hate. I don't think the costume choices are bad or anything like that. Like Joe Wright's really good at that element. So like that's not like a negative or anything. He makes the movie look okay. But Jesus. Yeah, there's a lot to this that just makes my head hurt.
Mark, Scott, thoughts?
Well, I don't have a lot specific to say about this. I just was very bored, honestly. It's not a story that I gravitate towards very much either. And I watched this on a plane, and I was like, well, this will cause me to focus on it because what else am I going to do on a plane, except watch a movie? It didn't really help. I was still pretty checked out, honestly. I was just pretty bored. Honestly, I don't think the movie looks great, and I like Joe Wright a lot. I do. I like a lot of his movies, not The Woman in the Window, but his movies often look spectacular, but. I don't know, especially towards the beginning, like some of the stuff like that's going on in the dark, like I don't know, it was rough to look at for me. And then I just find like the aesthetics of it everything just kind of neutral, and I don't know. It didn't jump off the screen to me visually. And when I think of Neverland, when I think of Peter Pan, I want something that like is eye popping. And I think the other Peter Pan that we watched was way better than this. But yeah, I don't have too much specific to say, except I just kind of thought it was boring. I kind of thought it was ugly. I just thought it was like weird for weird's sake. And I never really locked in on what anyone was doing. Not even Hugh Jackman, although he's trying very hard.
Mark?
I'll actually go the other way on it. I did not expect to like this at all, especially at the very beginning, where I don't know, we're just like in this weird ass fucking orphanage, and like the nun is awful, and it's like, oh, we found the nun stash, and now we're getting kidnapped, and then after we leave that, we get into a aerial dogfight with like World War II planes and a pirate ship, and I'm like, okay, we're going somewhere. Yeah. All right, we're doing some shit. And then we get into everybody's favorite scene, the Nirvana cover of it all, which again, odd. But I don't know, we get deeper in the movie, and I'm like, okay, we got this Peter Pan Hook relationship. I kind of like that they're kind of forced to work together in this. And I think you kind of give Peter Pan at least a somewhat interesting arc of him trying to find his family. But that was like a neat way of going about his story, and how like he kind of has to eventually earn like I don't know his Peter Pan powers, like a less good way to think of it. And also like this movie just in general just goes balls to the wall. Like it's just nuts. Every single decision made is weird, and I honestly appreciate that in most movies, even if it turns out to be bad. Even if it's bad, like I don't mind it. Like, listen, I'd rather watch that than you just put out like just some boring by the numbers product. It's way more interesting. It's way more interesting. Like
Especially
I mean,
if you're doing it with a franchise that has been done so much, they had to take with it.
yeah, like
yeah, they had to take risks, which I appreciate. They didn't just retread Peter Pan out there. I'm with everybody. I think also the visuals at the end, like when everything's going on, it gets very lost. Like I don't know.
The
if,
visual
like,
effects are terrible.
they ran out of money. They clearly ran out of money at some point.
Yeah, you could tell they ran. It was so like bright at certain points, and like you just didn't know what the hell was going on. But you're just like, find a face and attach to it, so you know what the hell who's doing what. Because when they start flying and stuff, you're like, guess that's Peter. I don't know. Like it was weird. Again, I think the one thing is like I appreciate the risk of the movie more than I like the movie, but it's also I don't like Peter Pan. So, Zach, anything else you'd like to touch on from Pan?
Yeah, you're all wrong. It's a great movie. It really works. I am like a sucker for. I mean, yeah, Mark and Robert are correct.
This is the most
I am a
success anybody's
sucker
had so
for
far.
wild, crazy kids movies. Like I love Return to Oz, and a similar thing. Took a franchise and taken like the weird ass takes with it. I think it's a throwback to the kid adventure films that like a lot of us grew up with in the early '90s, but with like this prestige visual sheen Joe Wrightness to it that I just kind of fell for as a unique thing. I do think it looks really good. I am wondering how much of a hit visually it took on being on our TV screens, because I remember in the theater, especially when the kids are like getting abducted by the pirates, I was just like stunned by how great that looked when I was in theaters, and it didn't look near as well watching from home. But I think anything dark and with a lot of shadows will always just look a lot more impressive in the theater. But this is one of my I love Peter Pan movies, but this is one of my favorite interpretations of Neverland. I think there's a real there's more ideas. Sometimes like even in the Disney one, it's just like an island. It's not that interesting, and this gives an insight into like the native communities that I did appreciate, and it's very colorful. And you get these wild, crazy ass birds, and you have the child slave cult that is a take. So it made me feel like again the best way possible, and while still I feel like the Joe Wright prestige just made me feel like I was okay enjoying it as far as being an adult that had some prestige to it. But I literally have never understood why people didn't like this movie, and the discourse around it always being why do they sing Nirvana has been the most annoying thing for me for 10 years, because it's a 1 minute scene and people are like, I hate the movie, they sing Nirvana, and like you hate the movie because one thing happens for 1 minute. That's like not a take on the movie at all.
Well, that's not why I didn't like it.
I know, but that's always been the like.
Yeah.
No, and that's the one thing I've heard about it, and like that's not the part.
Fennell's in it. That's why.
Yeah,
Yes,
no,
right,
like
exactly.
I that's all I heard from this movie was that.
Yeah,
and
it was just like this
I
cool
thought
thing for people to jump on. It was a bandwagon criticism.
I mean, if we're being completely honest, best part of the movie, absolutely best part of the movie, because it's so polar, like out there. But they're like it's kind of a cool rendition of it for the sake of it, and it feels so out of place that I'm just like, again, I watched the damn thing 3 times. I was just like, what is happening? Like this is so out there, but like for them to do it, I wish they kind of just if they would have leaned into it and just did it randomly, I think I would have liked it more, to be honest with you. Zach, what's your rating on this movie?
I give it 4 out of 5 stars.
Okay. Mark.
Oh yeah, this movie's really cool, really weird, and you just got a bunch of actors making some weird ass decisions. I was there for it. 3.5 out of 5.
Wow.
Robert.
Yeah, I didn't get to mention. I thought it was weird during the dogfight that they just had a pirate ship model ready queued up for their war room. It was the strangest thing ever. That's the strangest thing in the whole movie to me. It's just have that on tap. I think I'm going to give it a 3. I'll give it a 3. Solid 3. I like it. There's parts that annoy me, but solid 3.
Cool.
It's weird. It's bizarre. I applaud the boldness in spots. I do think that if they had just had the balls to do the whole movie, is the Smells Like Teen Spirit musical aspect of it, just do that, the whole movie, I think it would have actually been better. Just commit. I give it 2.5. I think it's fine. I don't think there's anything like great about it, but I don't think there's anything that makes you want to like bash my head in about it either. It exists. It's fine. It's 2.5 stars. Right in the center.
That's the weirdest way of putting a knife in someone and just like talking their whole like why they're taking their life. Just say it, you 2.5. You can save the speak. 2 stars.
Oh my gosh! And Scott gives us 1.5. This is magic.
Yeah,
sorry, I'm tempted to just change it now, but I gave it 2 stars.
Okay.
The ginger ale and the pretzels ended up being the highlight of the flight, unfortunately.
4th movie of the night. This is it. Michael Jackson stands on stage and bitches at his backup singers and everybody around for 2 hours. Listen, as a show, we're going to talk about the film. Okay, just going to make that very clear. We're going to talk about the film. For a person that actually enjoys Michael Jackson's music a lot, this sucked. Like, this sucks. Like I don't get it. Like, I expected to enjoy this, but I think like it even starts with a test. Like, how many years has he been like not doing stuff? He's not 50 years old or something.
It'd been 5 years at that point,
or something. Like, there's this thing, and like, I don't know. Like, I didn't know what to expect from this movie. I knew nothing really about it. I just knew it was the Michael Jackson movie. But like, it's like the rehearsal of the songs that he's doing for the concert and like the behind the scenes of his like, this is like if somebody told me like, hey, I have your favorite Boston Red Sox team, but it's a batting practice video.
Okay,
right.
but
Yeah,
okay. The team doesn't exist anymore, and it's the last thing you have for what would have been their final home game. It's
Doesn't make it good. Doesn't make
It doesn't make you good.
The point that I'm making is that this is
hold on. Right. So they don't exist anymore. But I'm not watching them batting practice.
You would rather go watch old games. You can go and watch.
I'm gonna watch an old game. Yeah. I'm gonna go watch a concert of them. I'm gonna go watch them win game 6 of the 2013 World Series. Like, I'm watching a guy past his prime in the aspect of what he's doing, but not to a great ability, and
giving it 20.
And then at weird parts,
rehearsals.
But at weirdest parts, I'm not going to get 3 minutes of the song I really like. I'm going to get a minute, and then he's going to be like, "Guys, this thing in my ear is like punching me in the ear. I know we're rehearsing. I know this is why we rehearse. Like, what the fuck is happening, Koho? Like, I'm so confused. Like, I understand you are a huge Michael Jackson fan, like, as the artist and everything about it. This is just Sarah because he's no longer with us, and this is it? This is it, clearly?
Okay.
This is it?
Okay.
I didn't even mean to do that, but this is it?
Very funny
Okay.
title.
Okay.
I'm sorry, this is it. This is all we got.
I didn't. I swear.
In 2009, he's prepping to do a farewell tour, and it's supposed to be the greatest farewell tour of any artist ever. Michael fucking Jackson. Yeah. And the whole thing sells out like in a day, the entire tour. It's like nuts. And so basically, like, to get to see what that tour would have been, what the show he was kind of building is really cool to me. I think there's a lot of really great moments and ideas that I think would have been phenomenal. I know that it, like, again, it is 100% the skeleton of the final product that we will never get because we can never get it. But to me, I cherish the skeleton of getting to get an idea of what his final show could have been because he's not going to get to do it. It's all I have. But like I
know,
think
but
that getting to
skeleton's
see
a
him,
very poor choice of words. I just want to
Fair
say
point.
that.
Fair
That's
point.
just-
fair point. But like the thing is, like I think that it was really cool for me, especially in 2009, watching him, like his creative process on full display, what kind of things he wanted to do, what songs he wanted to do, how he wanted to present those songs, the process of picking the people that he wanted to be on stage with him, I think is all super interesting to me. I think it's really cool to see like the Thriller video, like the way he was going to bring Thriller and that giant spectacle of Thriller to the stage, and like how the cool aspects of like making Smooth Criminal work by using old film footage and like superimposing himself in to add to like make everything big. I think is really great. And I think that there's a lot of awesome set pieces in the movie that we're kind of glossing over even in rehearsal, like how they fully do Thriller, they fully do Smooth Criminal, they fully do Earth Song, and like do the full run. And those are really cool to see. They give you a full idea of like, yeah, they didn't have footage of all of it, and they didn't want to make a 4-hour movie with like close to final stuff. Michael never wanted this footage to be out, but like I think it's great to see at least a really solid idea of what we would have gotten. It's definitely, as a movie, I will admit, it's not a movie. It's really not a movie. There's not a narrative structure to the movie. But it is a great, like, it's not like you're getting a story out of this. But, like, I think it's really great as a sort of final piece of understanding of, I would say, the greatest artist of a generation doing his thing one last time, and then getting the song, which, like, the song is good. It's a good song.
I just don't think you understand anything about him from this, though. Like, it feels like there's no insight into Michael Jackson, the person. We watch him perform, but there's nothing else of him really outside the performances other than, as has been pointed out, that he's complaining about this stuff. Instead, we just have to go off the endless interviews with the dancers and with Kenny Ortega and everyone else being like, oh, I've dreamed of this my whole life, to be part of Michael Jackson's tour, and he's, the greatest to ever do it, blah, 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 blah. Well, that's fine. I'm so glad that you think that, but it's not interesting to hear people say that over and over again. I can read an article and see people saying that. I want to see, if I'm going to watch this movie about him, I want to see some insight into who he is, something new or interesting. Like, I want to see Michael Jackson. And it just felt like this movie was exactly what it is, right? Which is a bunch of stuff that they just haphazardly stitched together after he died so they could make a quick buck. Like, that's it.
I have like most cynical take of this movie where it just really seems like they're like, fuck, we got screwed out of this by his death. We get nothing out of this tour. We're gonna just like edit something together so at least we can get something out of this experience. Like, it was just like, let's not make this wasted. I don't feel like there's any sincerity behind the intent of this movie at all. And that's how it come off. And once again, because it's not a movie, it's just like, this is why we got, let's throw it together, and people are sad, and we can take advantage of them at this moment in 2009 or whatever, and they'll go see it and anything we put out. The music videos still exist. So it makes no sense that like we need this to experience this, because you could still have everything he's done to experience overall. Any like musician or artist that has a late career, I don't experience it because it's my last chance to like listen to a CD made by this person before they died, because you still have their older music. I was going to use David Bowie as an example, but I actually really love David Bowie's like last couple records. But if it sucked, it would be like, I listened to it because it was my last chance to take it in, but you wouldn't. You would just go listen to his older music.
It's not just like, oh, you're listening to him recreate the songs. It's the spectacle of seeing how he was going to present those.
It's not a spectacle. It's half-assed. It is. It's half there. He's giving 20% effort because it's a rehearsal.
Again, you're not wrong. It's a rehearsal, but like
clothes. The guy's fucking dancing in a flannel. It's the worst hat game I've ever seen. The hats throughout the movie like made me hate anything that happened in the late 2000s. Every single hat made them look like the biggest douche.
Yeah, I mean, that is a very valid point where you're saying like, yes, what could have been. This is where it falls into the guilty side for you, is like where it's like, I know this is just BS basically put out there. It's a cash grab film because he died and they put all this stuff in, so they're gonna put it out there. You hold it into the regards of this is the last chance that anybody ever got to see Michael perform. The rest of us that even like Michael's music, but not to your infatuation, are like, I can see him up there sweat for 30 minutes, do some dances, scream around, and talk to his people, but like, it's not like, if this, I think this is a difference. If this is like a final dress rehearsal and they just like go through it and like the show's about to go or whatever, and he's like, even if there's a moment of frustration or something from him that you see like him, like it's about to go live and this is where we're at, but it's always like, okay, we'll just get it later, but no, we won't because he's gonna die. So it's like this weird like disconnect where we just don't get to see it. So, Mark and Robert, what did you guys think?
I will say, as a Michael Jackson music fan, the lack of off the wall songs really hurt me.
Honest, valid criticism.
Yeah.
Valid.
Like they do Don't Stop Till You Get Enough for like 30-second transition and that's it. And I'm like, what the fuck is like? They even go back to Jackson 5 stuff, which I was like, I'm surprised he would even want to touch that, given like his.
Well, the brothers were gonna be there. Is the thing they were gonna actually? That's why they did the thing with the brothers at the end.
So I thought when he said like, I love you, blah 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 blah, all my brothers and sisters, I thought that meant that everything was a tribute to them. They weren't there. Either way, no, I mean like, I sort of agree with Koho on like the idea behind it is to sort of understand the full scope of what he was as an entertainer when they mix in how he wanted to try to innovate with video and the dancing and all that. The problem is that it's sort of undercut. Show don't tell. It's sort of undercut by the amount of people who are talking about him. I know they have to fill it in for the sake of making it a video or a movie of certain length, but it's that sort of undercuts it. You just sort of like to see it and have more time to live in it, as opposed to it being like a half-dash thing where there's a bunch of people we don't care about talking about it. Like, I don't care about your opinion about Michael Jackson. I can get it from what you're showing me here, but otherwise, yeah, it feels like a 2-hour jerk-off session. No payoff, unfortunately. So that's bad.
I will say, like, one thing I do kind of like about this is that, we get to criticize Michael Jackson's hat game. I didn't think that would be like a criticism of Michael Jackson.
It's not just his, it's everybody.
Well,
like
the other stuff is off limits, so yeah.
Holy fuck.
Everybody's hat game. Sorry, my bad. I didn't know everybody was, the problem with the hat game. I gotta tell you, man, I can't think of a movie that's like just less for me than this. Like, I just listen.
Great.
I've made it pretty. Fair point. Listen, I don't like musicals at all. I just don't like, like for musicals it's like La La Land and like that's it. Like I just don't care for them like at all. Like, and I'm honestly not even that big of a Michael Jackson fan. Like I was listening to these songs. I'm like, I like half of these songs. Like, oh cool, Billie Jean, and like, oh, a song that I don't really give a shit about. And like, oh, Beat It, I like that. Like, oh, look, a song I don't really give a shit about. Like, and it's just like, okay, like, and part of me is just kind of laughing at what this was gonna do, because I mean, we're seeing the beginning of it, and this feels like some shit out of like Pop Star, Never Stopping. Ooh, he's gonna come out of this robot guy, and I'm like, what the fuck is this bullshit? Like, okay, like, cool. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, just, I think at the end of the day, like, I'm not a huge musical guy. I don't even really care that much about Michael Jackson. And as a whole, this is more or less just like a celebration of his career and his music. And like, as a non-fan, there's just nothing for me here. And I And kind of echoing kind of what Scott said, I don't even feel like I know that much more about Michael Jackson, especially like near the end. He's like, oh, the point of this, like part of the point of this show is, about the environment because we only got so many years before it's irreversible. Like, other than the fucking Earth song, what part of this is about the fucking environment? Was the deeper meaning in that Thriller music video about the environment? Like we're gonna be zombies or some bullshit? Like, what are you talking about, man? Like I don't know.
I
Man.
mean,
I didn't
Michael
find it. I just couldn't glom on anything on this.
To say that Michael Jackson was a little bit weird was
Understatement.
would be an understatement. Overall, I think we've bashed on This Is It enough tonight. Anybody else ever have a favorite moment that you just want to address one more time?
I brought up the
I'd
robot
still
guy. That's my
nothing
favorite.
will ever beat that inner ear
Robot
thing
Guy's
for
your
me.
favorite part. I can just imagine Mark watching it and the CG robot thing happens and Kenny Ortega's voice is just and piece by piece by piece by piece Michael drops and Mark's like, oh, let's go.
It was that inner ear thing will be one of my favorite things ever. It's just like how he stops it and he's like freaking punch, and then the guy in the crowd or whatever's like, "What was that, Michael?" Like, you can hear
Kenny
me.
Ortega,
What's that? Yeah, I can't hear you.
Cody, that is the
This
director
entire
of the High School
anger
Musical
thing about this
trilogy.
ear. He goes, "What was that? I can hear you." He's just like,
You're
what can we
talking about-
do to make it better for you? Lower it.
Lower
All right, we'll do it. We'll lower it. I'm like, this is
You're
so
talking about-
stupid.
You're talking about Kenny Ortega, the director of the High School Musical trilogy. You put some respect on Hocus Pocus, man.
Oh, I didn't. Do you
Would
think I
rather watch
remember
one of
any of these
those.
people's names in this movie? I did not. Koho, what's your star rating?
I'm biased, 5 stars. I'll always remember going and seeing this because like that was just a
Jesus
deal for me. I put this on as a comfort movie before, just to be like, all right, let's watch through things again. And like I like hearing them talk about like how they innovated new outfits and how they incorporated the original looks and changed them to make them better for the show. How they add different elements to like the visual performances, the pyrotechnics, and the aerobics, and all the shit they were going to do. I like seeing them talk about it and set it up. And I like the song "This Is It" a lot. I think that's like a great final song of a career. I think it's a good final song. I think it'd been nice to see him perform it. And yeah, I love this movie. So
Listen, the 04 World Series champion Red Sox. I would love to be able to see them, and I'm glad I don't have to watch batting practice. But like, there's a documentary called 4 Nights in October. Great documentary on that series. This, I feel, is just a like I felt gross watching this because it felt just like a gross cash grab the entire time. It's a 1 star for me. There's nothing. I would never watch this again. And this is not how. Even if I did enjoy, like they did full numbers, this is also not how I would watch or listen to Michael Jackson's music. So, Scott.
I mean, it should honestly be like 1 star or half star, but the songs are good, so it's 1.5 stars.
Zach.
It was a real waste of time. I get a half star because it's not a movie. So you can't even rate it.
it's a documentary.
Yeah, I guess it'll be the same. I can't think of a real super positive thing. I'll just give it 1 star. Like I just don't care about it at all. Like,
Thank you for the mercy.
Come back a couple weeks when we break down the Taylor Swift Eras Tour movie. And Robert.
I've made my stance clear. The lack of Off the Wall is annoying. I have one Michael Jackson album that's off the wall, and I like to listen to it. I'd rather do that at home than think about watching that. I'll say 1.5 stars.
Cody, don't threaten me with a good time.
Hey, I lost a bet to my wife. I'm currently going through every song of Taylor Swift's and ranking them. So
I've already done that.
list-
So we can
that
compare
list
notes
will
when you're
be
done,
that
yeah.
list will be done by Christmas. So enjoy that. I can't wait to drop that in like 500.
I'll share my
and get
spreadsheet
everybody's
with you.
reaction on that. I'm currently on halfway through 1989, the new version. I will not
All right.
listen to any of the other ones.
I'll let you cook.
Okay. Next up, I don't know which one. We'll just go with the internship. We'll just get mine out of the way. Listen, we were in a blender, and now we're saving lives. What? 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 We were just put us in the just shrink us down, put us in one of those submarines that you put in people's bodies to fight to find cures. That's not real. This movie is ridiculous, stupid, but I could listen to Vince Vaughn fast talk for the rest of my life. I find it one of the funniest things in comedy. I laugh every time. When they break out that ironic at the beginning of this movie, and I knew that I was going to be all for it. I'm curious. Did anybody else see this movie before this watch?
I have seen it before.
No.
Okay, I've seen it. I've seen it.
Okay. Zach, what was your first impressions of this? Did it help on a rewatch?
I remember not hating it on the first time, and because I do think it's watchable, and I think Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson will carry it through scenes of them bantering. I just am also very confused why this had to be the movie that surrounds them. They could have had any other plot or idea for them two to be in,
Right.
and it would be good. But I still you're still going to get some good lines, some good ad-libbing from them. But why? This movie is designed for what should be 70-year-old actors. There should be Morgan Freeman and Jack Nicholson movie, not these guys who it's so confusing why they know nothing about computers. They were around through the 90s and the 2000s, and they act like they never looked at a computer screen before. They don't have internet at home or nothing. It's way too late to make a movie like this. And maybe it would have made sense in 2005, not in the 2010s. For them to be that naive. I think
they try to pass it where they're salespeople and they just work in the interfaces, but don't tell me you never had a smartphone. What?
If they want
just
to
send it on the
20-year-olds,
line.
just make old school too.
We're gonna put it on the line. Online. Fly, bug, Goldblum
factors in, I promise you.
Yeah, go to Cambridge. Look for a guy in a wheelchair. It's Professor Xavier. I'm sorry. That is one of the funniest things. Mark, did this help on rewatch, or what was your impression the first time you watched?
I feel like I've watched this movie a lot in pieces because I think there was a I think around this movie came out, I live with my brother, and I think we owned a decent amount of those premium movie channels, and this movie just made a run on every movie channel. Just everybody had it at one point, and they always showed it. And I feel like I just got beaten into submission into kind of liking it. Even though I can't tell you, even though everything you think of this movie is kind of a lesser version of, including the Vince Vaughn, Owen Wilson relationship of it all, it's just a lesser version of that, and it's also just kind of less funny than most of their stuff, and the story is less entertaining than all of this, and also how the movie is basically, Draft 8, I think, gets a lot of shit for being a big commercial for the NFL. How does this movie get a lot of shit for just being a big commercial for Google?
It will in just about 2 minutes when I get to talk, because
I don't think enough people talk about this movie to give it that. I don't think
we should keep it that way.
In this light, I don't think Draft Day or this movie are talked about in any positive light. I'm the only one that ever talks about the internship. No one talks about it. So I agree. No, it is definitely Google cash grab. There's no question about that. Scott, what is your opinions on it?
It was awful. This was the worst movie for this episode, in my opinion.
What?
There was no redeeming qualities to this movie whatsoever. I didn't laugh a single time. Not a single time. It was just it was the most like the comedy was just like the most safe, predictable humor like you could possibly imagine. They didn't take a single risk with any of the jokes. I felt like in this movie,
Not even that's
you know, and I don't even. That guy did do a really good Patrick Stewart impersonation, but I don't even mind Owen Wilson and Vince. Like they are. Look, I don't like broad comedies. I don't like mainstream studio comedies. I just don't like them. And there are certain stars that I am just uniformly against. I would not put them in that camp. I have enjoyed stuff that they have done in the past. I like Wedding Crashers fine enough, but this movie just it's not funny and it's a waste of them. And yeah, the Google stuff is just awful in my opinion, just egregious. And I hate like the ending and like you have Asif Mandvi's character who's like running the whole, game and everything that's going on. And he's like, "Oh yeah, you guys are I picked you guys because you're just like me, I didn't go to college either." And I'm like, bro, you don't think there's anything different about your life experience from these two white dudes who just slacked their way through life probably. And
We're
like
salespeople. Don't be rude.
yeah, with a really really successful business. The first 20 minutes is basically them like coming up with how they're going to freaking manipulate this guy into like agreeing to to help their business. And I just found it so hilariously tone deaf that Asif Mandvi's character is like, "Oh yeah, you guys are just like me, I didn't go to college either." And also they're making it look like anyone can work at Google, right? You're out there, like just apply. You can do it. It doesn't matter. All you have to do is work hard and be a good leader
and
all
win
this.
some games.
It's all BS. There's no I don't if somebody shows me some data that says I'm wrong, okay, I'll accept that. But there's no way that Google is just out here hiring a bunch of people who don't have a college education and like are just like go-getters, like like the Vince
There's also
Vaughn
no
and,
way
and
this is how they hire people. That they
Yeah.
they put
It's like,
interns
oh,
or a
isn't it
team,
so
and a
fun
team
to
gets
work
hired
at
of 5
Google?
people. It doesn't matter.
Sean Levy's interpretation.
some
of
googly
how it works.
I
Yeah.
just wanted on the record.
This might not
I
even be
just
Sean
want-
Levy's worst movie. I will say that.
I just want on the record. You are picking apart this movie very fair, but we're supposed to believe a bunch of 16-year-olds are renting shit, and you're like, this is of course this is bullshit. They're never getting a job at Google. If you took this movie literal in any way, I'm sorry. There's no, and believe me, I'm one of these people. This movie's bad. This movie's very bad. But I love this movie. It makes me the comedy is I have to disagree with you because I laugh very hard at the jokes. I think the jokes work really well, and as a person that hates fun things or comedies at times I get called in this community very funny. Koho, what did you think?
I like Sean Levy as a director. I don't think there's a movie he's made that I've disliked. That includes this. I actually think, Cody, this is incorrect to bring to the table. This movie's good. This is actually a good movie. The comedy hits. No, this is a good good movie. This is a good movie. That Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson are so fun. They are so fun together.
Koho's back, and that means I'm fucked.
They are so fun together, and the entire concept of storytelling is what if the ridiculous could happen. That's literally what if something that you don't experience could happen or didn't think was possible could happen. One-on-one storytelling, and it is so fun to just watch these two be idiots and go through Google. I think it's so fun. I think that's just the word to describe it. I think Sean Levy makes movies that are super light and super entertaining, with like one or two maybe exceptions. But I think every movie he's made has been good, and I very much enjoyed this. Good call.
Robert, did you work on this movie?
No, I have not.
Okay. What's your
I
thoughts?
This movie is like a warm blanket you can snuggle yourself in. Now, it might smother you, or it might have a lot of holes in it, so it doesn't actually keep you warm. I guess it's...
double it up.
Yeah, double it up. I will say that when I watch movies and they use skins of search engines that aren't Google, it upsets me.
Right.
So the good thing about this is that they could use Google because it's all about Google, so good for that. Scott brought up Wedding Crashers, and I have to say... I know Wedding Crashers is problematic for a number of reasons, But I think Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson work best in an environment where it's an R-rated comedy and not a PG-13 comedy, and I think that hurts it quite a bit. The dynamic of the kind of comedy they can do in this situation.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think everything around them in this movie is kind of sort of templated. Everybody has sort of an archetype, and you don't really like those archetypes. I will say I do enjoy Josh Gad in it. I didn't know that was him at first, and I was like, oh, hey, look, it's Josh Gad. He's kind of kooky, and I like, great 2013 for Josh Gad, I guess. This is Frozen. Good for him. He was killing it. I just think it's, it's safe, and I don't think they do best when they play it safe, those two, and Sean Levy as well. So it's fine, but I don't like it.
Yeah, you really got to let Sean Levy get in the kitchen and just start cooking. That's when we can see what he can do. Yeah,
depends on
the museum.
Yeah, cheaper brother dozen, baby.
Yeah.
No, and I don't know when I watched this movie the first time. And I've watched it a ton since. Again, I agree with you, but what?
It wasn't a theater watch?
No, it wasn't a theater watch. But the more I look at it, I like bad Vince Vaughn movies. I like bad Vince Vaughn. Like Four Christmases, I love Four Christmases. It's a bad Vince Vaughn movie.
Yeah, Fred Claus.
What?
Is that your shit? Fred
no,
Claus?
that's the one. That's one of the ones that don't really work for me. Okay. But I just enjoy Vince Vaughn. I don't know. It's a weird thing, but I think he's very funny, and that's what sold into this. But again, yeah, I'm probably the most
corporate shill of all of us. Yes.
Yeah, but also I'm also the most well aware from everybody, because everybody else is in here is like, my movie's good. Nah, my movie's bad. I know it's bad, but I laugh and I enjoy it. So I'm better than all you. I just said that. All right. Anybody else want to talk about some good moments, like when they're selling those pizzas at the end, like the guy at the Google, that was a really cool moment, or
I did laugh really hard at the Patrick Stewart, Charles Xavier stuff. That made me laugh really hard. Where it's dumb, but love it. I love it.
Also, I think I watched the director's cut somehow because it was over 2 hours, and there was
You're welcome.
The strip club scene went on for pretty long.
Yeah, that did go on for very long.
No, I think that's just in the scene. Yeah, he goes to an air dryer 7 times. It's really awkward.
More disgusting and unwatchable than the end of Never Going Back was them throwing the pizzas into the audience. I couldn't watch it. It's just cheese and sauce is melting down into people's faces. It was disgusting. They should have been escorted out of the building at that moment.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't even mention that the freaking fact that they're oh yeah, the way we're gonna win the game, let's cheer for them all, is they're gonna go freaking convince this small business owner to sell out to Google. Thank God. Isn't your heart
I will say
right
it's a comedy. You're trying to make him more money, Scott. What are you talking about?
And we're really thinking these con men are really lovable and perfect humans.
You get it advertised in the paper.
I will say the bad the bad guy, or what I don't know who played. I don't know his name. But when he gets introduced and Owen Wilson comes over to the first time and he's like, "Oh, I thought you guys were important," and walks away and goes, "You just introduced me to Hitler? Why'd you move me over?" Every time he plays a perfect douchebag in this movie.
Oh yeah,
that just makes you want to hate him.
That's just Max Miguel.
Yeah, that's him.
The most unintentionally funny part of it is after they get hired for the job and the whole audience starts uproaring. They're all clapping that they didn't get hired. They all just got fired. They're like, yeah, for these guys.
That's true.
Yeah, let's give it up to these 7 people that got jobs and we didn't. Yeah. Because I think Celebration plays or whatever, and they start dancing in there, and
everyone is very invested in
a very tone deaf room.
I also you already mentioned it, but I love the nickel in a blender. I was laughing way too hard at that joke.
You were in a blender? And now we're saying what?
Is there liquid in the blender? Why does that matter? It matters.
Listen, it matters. Just tell me. Listen, we were in that blender. We got out. Like, it's such
Now
a
we're saving
stupid
lives.
bitch. But I love it.
It's so
And those
good.
two are just sitting there. What?
BJ Novak
What do you want? The
plays that
same
so
70
well.
people that knows once you shrink down, you can jump higher, like blah blah, or like it works. I'm at 3.5 stars. It's 3.5 stars. It's passable. I will turn this on. It's a guilty pleasure. I love it. Koho.
3.5. I like it. Very enjoyable time. We'll probably come back to it at some point.
When Koho agrees with me, I know I'm in the wrong. Zach Ford.
I do think that this was the best definition of what a guilty pleasure could be, because I do see how this could be watchable and rewatchable over and over.
Listen,
again.
there was two choices.
Yeah,
it was either this or it was Fever Pitch.
I almost
One of
picked
the two.
Fever Pitch, but I wasn't sure if you did it. I was about to pick it.
It was one of the two that was coming out of the chamber. Either one, because I know they're both bad, but I
Fever Pitch
both
is
love
good,
them.
and I give this 2.5 stars.
Mark.
I wish I got every job just because the employer just liked the cut of my jib. You know, that would just be great. Everything about this movie is completely inoffensive. You know, it's a perfectly fine film. It's 3 stars.
Robert.
I'll give it 2 stars. Like I said, I'm gonna be watching other versions of them doing that, but yeah, I mean, you can't deny they have a chemistry. It's just they shouldn't waste it on Google. Google's got enough money.
Let's see if Scott gives this movie a higher rating than Michael Jackson film or not. What's up?
It's
Let's
definitely not inoffensive. It's a lot of things, but it's not inoffensive, I would say. 1 star. It is going above only 2 movies on my roundtable list, and that is Poggy Beach and Idle Hands. The only 2 movies worse than this that I've seen on the roundtable. 1 star.
I also got Poggy V5 from your movie, so suck it. Last movie. Last movie, School for Scoundrels, also AKA the movie I always got mixed up with Mr. Woodcock. Don't know why, but it's
there's a very
always
obvious reason why.
I did.
There's a very obvious
Billy Bob
reason
Thornton,
why, but I don't know why I thought they were both the same. AKA like me as a the attitude I carry majority of my time on my online presence is Billy Bob Thornton in this movie towards people. Yeah, I could watch that paintball scene for the rest of the time. I will be honest with you. This movie, I just like a character that's a dick to people, and that shows a problem in me. But yeah, I'm really glad that you brought this on because it's been since I watched it in theaters. But yeah, take it away, everybody. School for Scoundrels. Did anybody see it prior to this, or is this the first time watch for most people?
I've seen it.
First time for me.
Scott, don't act like you're not an educated human being. I'm never going to assume that you just don't watch great films.
Yeah.
It's in the 2000s to 2010s. This is your
Scoundrels. I don't need the movie. Yeah,
that's fair. Mark, what did you think on rewatch? I guess and first time.
Oh yeah, this is I think it's just one of a ton of just R-rated movies I just rented. You know, just way to spend a Saturday night. Yeah, just go to Blockbuster, grab a couple things. Let's Napoleon Dynamite Kid. All right, let's do this, and then regret it later. Whatever. And I think I remember it being fine the first time I watched it. I didn't love it. Going back, it was kind of a. It was one of those where this kind of points out, I think, more of the Todd Phillips weaknesses in movies, just because it's just. I think what kind of works, at least with the good Todd Phillips movies, what kind of works with the good Todd, is that there is a sense of camaraderie in the good Todd Phillips movies. Sense of that, at least in the first Hangover, even Starsky and Hutch, and at least somewhat in Old School.
Joker.
And
Joker.
I mean, not a comedy. There's no way to. Joker's just a weird movie. But,
I have a lot of fun with it.
Due date.
Scott loves that movie.
But I don't know, just there is something, at least with this movie, of like I'm just watching like just a bunch of guys that just hate each other, like they just don't like each other at all, and I think there is something at least too, like because I also kind of like watching Billy Bob Thornton play an asshole. There is something fun about watching him play a complete dick. I mean, I like the remake of Bad News Bears. I think it's one of the better things about it, just because he just is just a total asshole and he's really funny in it. But I think the difference with School for Scoundrels is like he's not a good person, and there's nothing about him that's a good person. Where at least in Bad Santa and Bad News Bears, it's like, okay, there's like a shade of a good person in there. Like a good person kind of wants to be there. School for Scoundrels, he just sucks and he's just torturing Napoleon Dynamite for some reason. Which also, good God, can we think?
Because yourself sucks.
Like, can we think of a person like who was less deserving of a Hollywood career than John Heater? Does he just suck? Like,
Yes, I can think of some. I can think of a few. When do you want me to start? Yeah.
but yeah,
I'm kind of with you.
I'm just not a huge fan of this movie. Like, especially coming back to it.
Yeah. Everybody
This
else.
movie was made for anybody would have been Mark, so this is downhill.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not a great sign.
I do feel like I am a pretty big comedy fan, and I just find them very easy to watch. It would have to be extremely offensive for me to be like a 0.5-star, 1-star unwatchable movie. So I didn't like hate my time, and I laughed a few times. And it was like there's so many guys in this, and they're not necessarily like people I even like, but just like, oh, I know like 20 people. Every single person in that class is like someone you recognize.
Yeah.
And that's just like interesting and kind of like fun to see, even though I'm not like hugest fans of a lot of those people. It was great to watch Todd Luizzo get in such a meaty role. High Fidelity Forever, my guy. I only thought he was in High Fidelity and Jerry Maguire, so it was a great surprise to see him have such a thing in this. John Heater does drain every ounce of energy out of this movie, and he is a disaster of an actor. And the fact that they thought we would like find him charming and root for him,
He's a heartthrob, man.
it's nonsense.
You see with that speedo at the end?
And if he like brings down the movie a whole star. And it's really funny that like Billy Bob Thornton or everyone saw him as like a big competitors class because he just like shot him at paintball, and that means he's the most likely to like be a dick to women and woo them, which is the whole goal. They're all seeing who can be best at being a dick to other people.
Was that the goal? The goal was completely unclear to me as to what the purpose of the
goal was. You don't want people to walk all over you, so you just like you want to be the alpha. It was how to be the alpha, which is very mid 2000s asshole culture.
But it's really funny
And wear
that,
sunglasses inside.
Yeah, always.
Billy Bob Thornton is like there's like the big third act revelations are like, oh, he's a fraud, right? He's not a doctor. Did anyone really think he was a doctor?
They knew he wasn't a doctor. She didn't know.
Did anyone think that this guy was like not a fraud? Like I don't like how. It's just very confusing to me, like the revelations that happened in the third act. But yeah,
and also John Heater did save those guys from getting raped by Mike. Which is real weird that was like the part of the weird. And they should have been more
really weird plot.
Okay,
they were like going out of this guy. I'm like, no, he like saved us from getting raped.
It was really hard for this movie to come back from the first scene, in my opinion, of him writing the parking ticket for the two black guys who just pull out a gun on him when it's not established who these guys are at all. Like, are you serious?
I will say I understand why that is offensive, and this is similar to like the scene in Family Vacation where they get their like car jacked. I understand how horrible it looks. Also, the guys doing it are so funny, and I thought those two guys were the funniest part of the movie. Because same thing in Family Vacation, the guy that was driving the car is the funniest part of that movie. But has bad optics.
I love that you're calling it Family Vacation. Thank God we're not playing trivia.
What is it called?
National Lampoon's Vacation.
We knew what he was talking about.
So,
You knew what I meant.
Robert, we've destroyed basically it again. Why does this hold a special spot in your movie taste?
I'm just fascinated by pictures in time, and this is and I'm fascinated by like the between successes. So this is Todd Phillips after Old School. This is John Heater after Napoleon Dynamite. This is before The Hangover. It's this weird, I think, sort of forgotten movie, and I just like it when, sort of as Mark indicated, I like it when there's a bunch of people and they have a camaraderie. And I know that camaraderie ebbs and flows throughout this movie, to say the least. But just like looking into that scoundrels class and just looking at like Jim Parsons, multiple Emmy winner for The Big Bang Theory. He does nothing, but he's just there. Or Aziz Ansari, problematic. He says one thing, but he's there. Or fucking Jeremy Jam from Parks and Rec. He's there, and he's an asshole who fires off pepper spray in fucking elevator like an idiot. But he's there, and it's just very interesting. And yes, Billy Bob Thornton's shtick in the 2000s, this is at an all-time critical mass, whether that's a good or a bad thing. So I like these types of comedies. I like Todd Phillips comedies. I'm not gonna shy away from that. And it's just one that I think people forget, and I just wanted to highlight it because it would come on TBS a lot, and I would watch it anytime it was on because it was comfortable in my movie liking aspects of what it is that I look for. So, yeah, I mean, it's not the greatest. I can admit it. Guilty pleasures, I understand what a guilty pleasure means. I get it. It's not good. But it holds a special place for me because of how it is I like to sort of bring people in to watch movies that maybe people had forgotten for good or for bad.
I mean, the thing is, like, I like Todd Phillips too. I like all of this did is like, I didn't like. It made me rewatch Old School. Like I watched
That's
Old
fair.
School. Like after this is like I do think Todd Phillips is funny, right? I watch Old School. I laugh. Like, all right, cool. I like this. Might watch Starsky and Hutch later tonight.
I thought about that as the other one to do.
Just watch The Joker.
Watch Joker. So I will make it short. I think it was a bunch of bad people doing bad things, but there's so many twists in this that make it so ridiculous to look away from. There were so many twists for twist's sake that I had to give it a little bit of an applause. That it's not good twists, but the sheer amount of them, I had fun with it a little bit. So it's not terrible.
But that paintball scene.
Or just Ben Stiller showing up as a weirdo for 5
Ben
minutes.
Stiller weirdo cameos are always the best.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna get star ratings. Robert, what's your rating on this?
Again, I know it's not good, but given that I chose this, I have a metric, so I will say that this is 3.5 stars.
Yeah. Scott.
2 stars. I will say Jacinda Barrett seemed very lovely in this movie, and I don't know why she was like wasting her time with either of these two dudes. Anyway, 2 stars.
I'm at 2.5. 2.5. Again, something about it, and I will agree with what Mark said about Bad News Bears, the remake. I do. Is that a baggie full of bacon? Well, it's a quote that I say too many times. Koho.
2.5. It's fine. Problematic. Standard Todd Phillips shit. But it was fun.
Zach.
Yeah. Speaking of Jacinda Barrett, I really should have chose The Last Kiss, but I felt too guilty about picking that one. If Michael Campbell was on here, I could have been encouraged to get that on there. But she's lovely in it. I give it 2 stars.
Michael Campbell is the only person to agree to be on the show and then drop a movie and never comment why he missed that movie.
What a film it was.
A flipping snuff film. For those kangaroos. Mark.
Asshole Billy Bob Thornton gives this movie a bit of a nudge. I'll give it 2 stars.
All right. That's the roundtable for this week. We have documentaries coming up. Again, this is the time whenever this is showing up. We've done a lot of episodes. You can find upcoming roundtable releases on my letterbox. It's on my profile of what movies will sing if you want to watch it ahead of time. We're also practicing. We're going to do one next year, which will be live. We'll announce it live and get people's opinions and maybe like send out the link and have people hop on to talk about if they watched along with it. But overall, yeah, documentaries should be coming up around this time, so look out for that one. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.